Welcome back, everyone. Before we dive in, make sure you drop your thoughts and the lessons you took from this story in the comments. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Let's get into it. My husband avoided me for 3 months. Then one morning he said, "You are barren, Maya. You can never be a mother." He delivered this diagnosis over breakfast, as if he were announcing that we had run out of coffee. His voice was steady and matter-of-fact, while I sat frozen with a forkful of scrambled eggs halfway to my mouth. 3 months of him flinching when I touched him. 3 months of separate blankets and gym showers. And this was his explanation. My body was broken, defective, unfit for the children he claimed to want more than anything. He did not know a manila envelope in my purse held test results proving the exact opposite. The fork clattered against my plate, eggs tumbling onto the placemat I bought at that little shop in Lincoln Park. The one with hand-embroidered flowers he had said was too expensive for, something we would just spill food on. Funny how I remembered that argument now while he calmly gutted our marriage between sips of black coffee. "What did you just say?" My voice came out strangled. He pulled out his phone and swiped to something he had prepared. "I had some tests done. My fertility is fine. We have been trying for 2 years, Maya." He turned the screen toward me too quickly to read more than a blur of medical terminology. "The problem is you. The problem is you." For words that explained why he had been sleeping in workout clothes for the past month. Dressed like a man who needed to escape our bed at any moment. Gray sweatpants. A technical shirt that wicked away moisture. Appropriate for someone sweating through his lies every night beside me. His alarm had shifted from 7 o'clock to 6:33 weeks ago. Every morning, alarm, grab the pre-packed gym bag by the bedroom door, disappear before I could offer coffee or conversation. Better water pressure at the gym, he had said when I asked why he no longer used our bathroom. The one with the rainfall showerhead he insisted on when we moved into this Chicago apartment 4 years ago. I thought about the concert tickets in my drawer, front orchestra seats that cost me $300. When I mentioned them last week, he remembered a project deadline. The week before, dinner at a place he once loved was derailed by an emergency client meeting. 2 weeks before that, a weekend with my parents in Milwaukee was canceled because quarterly reports absolutely could not wait. Every plan I made sprouted an urgent obligation, as if my presence had become something to schedule around rather than with. "I need children, Maya. I need a legacy," he said, like he was explaining a business acquisition, not the future we planned. "You cannot give me that." My sister Denise's visit suddenly made more sense. She found his wedding ring in his car's cup holder, then in his gym bag, then on his desk. Each discovery arrived with a new excuse. Swollen fingers from salt, metal sensitivity, soap allergies that somehow targeted only his ring finger. "He is eating nothing but takeout salads," she had said. "The man who begged for your lasagna is living on greens." "Maya, something is wrong." I dismissed it as stress. Now I understood. How long had he known? My hand moved toward my purse where Dr. Lauren Porter's test results waited. "Perfect reproductive health," she had said. "Optimal hormone levels. Everything functioning exactly as it should." "Does it matter?" he said, straightening a shirt I ironed yesterday when I still believed we were a couple navigating a rough patch. "We know now. We can stop pretending this is going to work. Stop pretending, like 5 years of marriage, 2 years of timed intimacy, temperature charts, and ovulation tests had been an elaborate performance he was tired of. I made an appointment with a specialist," I said carefully, "to get tested." Something flickered across his face, panic, or annoyance that I had taken initiative without him. "That is unnecessary now," he said. "We have answers." "Your answers," I corrected. "From tests you took without telling me, without including me, without asking if we should go together." He lifted his favorite mug, the one I gave him that read World's Best Husband, and carried it to the sink. "I was trying to spare you the embarrassment of finding out in a doctor's office." "Spare me." As if announcing my supposed infertility over scrambled eggs on a Thursday was a kindness. "That is very considerate," I said, my calm holding by a thread. He finally looked at me. "Do not make this harder than it needs to be. We both know our marriage has been struggling. This explains why." Our marriage struggled because he had been systematically withdrawing from it. I did not say that. Instead, I thought about the envelope in my purse dated 2 weeks ago, the doctor's notes about my excellent indicators. I thought about his mysterious tests that he flashed too fast to verify. He checked the watch I saved for 6 months to buy for our 5th anniversary. "I have a meeting." Of course he did. He always had somewhere else to be when our life required presence. While he gathered his laptop and keys and that gym bag that lived by the door, I sat staring at cold eggs, processing the last 3 months through a new lens. This had been calculated, every step backward, every inch of distance, every excuse. The apartment door clicked closed, leaving me alone with the ghost of the word Barren hanging in the air. I reached for my purse, pulled out the envelope, and spread Dr. Porter's test results across the table where his phantom medical report had been minutes before. Perfect reproductive health. No barriers to conception. Hormones optimal. I was not barren, but my marriage certainly was. The lock appeared on his home office door the following Monday. Not just any lock, a digital keypad that beeped each time he entered his code, announcing secrecy with electronic precision. I stood in the hallway with a laundry basket while he tested it 3 times. Client confidentiality, he said. New regulations from corporate. You understand. I understood that Brennan and Associates had not required home security measures in the 5 years he had worked there. I understood his laptop already had a password. But I nodded, pretending it was normal for a husband to lock his wife out of a room in their home. That night a blizzard warning blanketed Chicago. Wind rattled our windows while snow piled along the building. He took a phone call in his car anyway. From our 3rd-floor window, I watched him sit in the driver's seat, engine running, exhaust coughing white clouds into the air, his breath fogging the windshield while he gestured as if the person on the other end could see him. 20 minutes. 30. At 40, I took his heavy coat downstairs, worried about cold, about decency. I knocked on the window. He looked up like I had interrupted something sacred, held up one finger, wait, and turned away. When he finally came inside, his ears were red, his fingers stiff. Important call? I asked. You would not understand, he said. Somehow that hurt worse than an outright lie. The rejection shifted from subtle to theatrical. At our neighbor Mrs. Whitaker's funeral, I reached for his hand during the prayer, something we had done hundreds of times. He jerked away like I burned him and scrolled through emails while the pastor spoke about love and loss. I thought you were reaching for my wallet, he said later, which made so little sense that I did not respond. The company holiday party in December was where he perfected it. We arrived separately because of a supposed client emergency, so I walked into the Brennan and Associates celebration alone, scanning for my husband of 5 years. I found him at the bar, laughing with colleagues who had eaten at our table and toasted our wedding. This is Maya, he said when I approached, like I was a stranger. Not my wife, Maya. Not you remember Maya, just Maya. Tiana, a colleague, looked confused. Your wife, Maya? She asked. Yes, he said, already turning away. I spent the night with a glass of wine, watching him work the room like a single man. He never once looked my way. The evidence planting began in January. I returned from grocery shopping to find our shared tablet on the counter. Browser opened to signs your wife may be infertile. Below it, a search history that read like a panicked man's research project. How to tell if wife cannot have babies. Infertility symptoms women hide. Barren wife support groups Chicago. He wanted me to find it. He wanted me to question myself. A week later at the bookstore, I caught him photographing pages from a medical text in the pregnancy section. Not buying the book, just photographing charts and statistics. When he saw me, he shoved his phone into a pocket so fast he nearly dropped it. Research for work, he said, though his work involved portfolios, not reproductive systems. The cruelest part was the method. Every search, every photograph page, every planted breadcrumb. He was constructing a case against me, ensuring that when he announced my barrenness, there was a trail of concern to support him. My mother drove down from Wisconsin for my birthday in early February. She took one step into our apartment, and I watched her face change, like she could feel the temperature drop despite the thermostat reading 72. She watched him hand me a grocery store card at dinner, the clearance kind, his name scrawled without love or note. In the kitchen, she asked, "What is happening here?" "We are trying for a baby," I said. "It is stressful." She looked at me the way she used to when I claimed the dog ate my homework, and we did not have a dog. "Maya, this is not stress." I wanted to tell her about the locked office, the car calls in snowstorms, the way he stopped saying my name with any tenderness. Instead, I smiled the brittle smile I had perfected over 3 months. She hugged me so tight the next morning that I thought she might never let go. "You can always come home," she said. No questions asked. 2 weeks later, he called in sick. He moved through the apartment with unusual purpose, making coffee for both of us, tilting the blinds until morning light fell across the table like a spotlight. "Sit," he said, pulling out my chair. The gesture felt rehearsed, like a final performance of courtesy before he dismantled what was left. "We need to have an honest conversation," he began, looking just past me, focusing on a spot over my left shoulder. He slid a brown folder across the table with the precision of someone handling evidence. "I have been doing research about our situation." Through steam rising from my cup, I watched his expressions, concern, sympathy, resignation, cycle like a sequence he had practiced in a mirror. Some women just cannot have children. It is not anyone's fault. It is biology. He opened the folder to what looked like medical reports, traced highlighted lines, never pushing the papers close enough to read. "The tests are conclusive," he continued. "Your reproductive system is not capable. Primary infertility. Irreversible." "Which doctors?" When had I seen doctors with him? I remained silent, an audience at my own funeral, while he eulogized our marriage with invented terminology. Relief washed over his face. He had been preparing for this moment, not dreading it. "We need to explore other options," he said, words flowing easier. "I need children. I need a legacy." My mind walked to our filing cabinet, to the folder marked medical records containing Dr. Porter's very real test results. Everything functioning perfectly. "I know this is hard to hear," he said, misreading my silence. "You are," he paused for the final blow. "You are broken, Maya, and I cannot fix you." My grandmother's delicate china mug slipped from my fingers, turned once, and shattered on the hardwood with a musical, final sound. Coffee spread in a starburst, reaching toward his folder like an accusation. I knelt, gathering 5 distinct pieces, hands steady with something too focused to be grief. "Leave it," he said, dropping a roll of paper towels from a safe distance. "I will get those." I did not leave it. I gently collected each fragment. The painted forget-me-nots on the shards glowed unchanged despite the break. Some things, once shattered, do not go back together with replacements. Coffee seeped toward his folder. The brown bloom reached the edge of those fake reports, staining them with truth, messy, spreading, impossible to contain. "I need air," I said. "We are not done talking," he insisted. "Yes," I said, meeting his eyes. "We are." In our bedroom, I set the broken mug into a small box and placed it in my jewelry drawer. Behind it, my real medical records waited. I did not reach for them. Something in his relief, in his practiced speech, told me this was bigger than escaping a marriage. Something was hiding behind those papers and rehearsed sympathy. I watched his car pull out from the window, waited 5 minutes longer, then walked to the office door. It stood ajar. The digital keypad blinked green. He had left his sanctuary open. The room smelled like his cologne and the faint sweetness of perfume that was not mine. His desk was messier than he would tolerate if he knew I would see it. Papers scattered. Folders stacked haphazardly. I started with the filing cabinet, flipping through tabs until taxes 2023 yielded more than tax forms. Credit card statements for an account I did not know existed. The charges told a story. A lingerie store, $127, sizes that were not mine. Restaurant charges from places he claimed to dislike. Always 2 dinners. Always wine pairings. A jewelry receipt for pearl earrings I had never seen. I photographed everything, each click loud in the quiet. His laptop sat open. One touch of the trackpad woke the screen to his inbox. A purple flag marked important. The flagged messages were all from Sabrina Cole. I knew Sabrina. She worked in accounting, started 6 months ago. She was at the holiday party, watched me stand at the edge of the room with a glass of wine while my husband ignored me. The emails began professionally in November. By December, they shifted. "I cannot stop thinking about lunch yesterday. Your scent is still on my scarf." January brought declarations. "I have never felt this way. I cannot wait until we do not have to hide." In February, there was an ultrasound, grainy black and white, a small shape circled in red. Subject line: "Our little miracle, 12 weeks." Her message: "The timing is not perfect, but this baby is our new beginning. After you leave Maya, we can finally be the family we are meant to be." 12 weeks. Conception in November, when he began treating me like I carried a disease. While he called me Barren, Sabrina carried his child. I photographed every email and printed them later at the library, organizing a binder. November's professionalism, December's escalation, January's declarations, February's pregnancy, into a timeline no one could dispute. The next day I called Dr. Porter, and asked for copies of my test results on official letterhead. She repeated the full panel that afternoon: blood work, ultrasound, hormone levels, and printed multiple sealed copies. "These numbers are exceptional," she said. 95th percentile for fertility health. "Please put that in writing," I said. She did, with signature and seal. I drove home with the folder on the passenger seat and slipped into performance. If he wanted a broken wife, I could give him exactly that until it served me. I collected adoption brochures, left one on the coffee table, tucked another into a novel, slipped one into my purse for him to accidentally find. I built a browser history of fertility clinics and grief guides. I created a spreadsheet comparing costs, knowing he would check and mistake my planning for despair. I attended a support group in Wicker Park on Wednesday evening. Chicago fertility warriors sat in a circle of women whose pain was real and humbling. I spoke softly. "I just found out." They surrounded me with compassion I did not deserve. I left with an attendance stamp and a receipt from the donation box because I needed his belief to be complete. When I came home, he was in the kitchen holding one of the adoption brochures. "You are looking into adoption?" he asked neutrally. "I thought maybe," I said, letting my voice falter. "If we cannot have our own." Something shifted in his face, satisfaction that I was swallowing the lie. "Very practical," he said. Over the next week he started coming home later, midnight, 1 o'clock, too. No more excuses about emergencies. He would walk in, shower, and slide into bed without a word. The scent of another woman clung to him like the conclusion of a sentence he would not say aloud. He began evacuating our life in increments. His grandfather's watch disappeared from the dresser. Off for cleaning. His college diploma was needed for certification. His favorite mug migrated to his office and never returned. He believed I was too devastated to notice. I noticed everything. Denise became my accomplice. She called when he was home, her voice just loud enough to carry through our walls. "You need to accept what you cannot change," she would say, while privately texting me numbers for family lawyers. I wept convincingly into the phone while documenting lunchtime hotel charges on my laptop. Thursday afternoon I received a text. "Dinner tomorrow at the Marlowe, 7 o'clock. Important news to share. Please do not be late." The Marlowe, where he proposed, where we celebrated our first anniversary. The cruelty of choosing that place for whatever spectacle he planned made my hands shake. Not from sorrow, anticipation. I spent Friday preparing. I retrieved the binder from Denise's apartment, transferred the contents into a manila envelope, and arranged evidence in a specific order. My fertility results first, then credit card statements and receipts, then the printed emails, an ultrasound at the end like a seal. I wore the black dress he bought for my last birthday, the one he said made me look beautiful before he decided I was broken. My makeup was steady armor. The envelope rested in my purse, heavy with truth. A second text arrived. "Actually bringing someone you should meet." Someone I should meet. I took a cab and asked the maitre d' for a table in the center of the main dining room near the window. He nodded, intuition flickering in his eyes, and seated me where half the room would have an unimpeded view. I placed my purse on the chair beside me and ordered water. At exactly 7 o'clock he walked in wearing his best suit, guiding Sabrina beside him with his hand at the small of her back. Her dress flowed over a visible 4-month bump. The dining room seemed to pause as recognition spread. Colleagues from his firm, neighbors from our building, even a physician we knew socially. The collective intake of breath was nearly audible. His step faltered when he saw where I sat, not hidden in a corner but centered like a stage. He recovered, led Sabrina forward. "Maya," he said, not quite meeting my eyes. "This is Sabrina from my office. I thought it was time you met." "How lovely," I said, pulling out her chair. "Please sit. You must be tired." The waiter appeared. He ordered wine and then remembered. "Just 2 glasses," he said. "Sabrina cannot drink." "Of course not," I said. "Congratulations on the baby." The word hovered between us. Sabrina placed a protective hand over her belly, a gesture that might have been touching if context were not poison. "Given your situation," he began, circumventing the word he had used at home, "we should discuss the future. Honestly, we have grown close through difficult times," he continued, placing his hand over hers. "She has been supportive as I processed everything." Sabrina added gently, "It must be hard, finding out you cannot have children. He told me about your diagnosis." "Yes," I said. "There have been many shocks lately." He tightened his grip on his glass. We did not plan for this, but life takes unexpected turns, he said. We have to accept reality and move forward with grace. I agree, I said, smiling warmly enough to unsettle him. In fact, I would like to propose a toast. I raised my water. Sabrina lifted hers quickly, he followed. To new beginnings, I said. To truth. To unexpected revelations. We clinked glasses. He set his down with the gravity of someone about to deliver a proclamation. We want to be honest about our plans, he said. We are going to be a family, Sabrina added. Then let us be complete with honesty, I said, reaching for my purse. The manila envelope's weight steadied me. I set it on the table between us. He stared as if it were a coiled serpent. What is this? Open it, I said. He peeled the seal and pulled out the first page. He recognized the letterhead immediately. Dr. Lauren Porter, Reproductive Endocrinology and Fertility. His hands trembled. He read highlighted lines. Exceptional reproductive health. Optimal hormone levels. 95th percentile. No barriers to conception. Color drained from his face. What is it? Sabrina asked, leaning to see. My fertility results, I said, my voice carrying just enough for nearby tables. Dated 2 weeks ago, with confirmatory testing from months before. Every indicator is excellent. He flipped pages, confronted by signature and seal. But you said, Sabrina turned to him, confusion cresting into fear. You said she was barren. You showed me reports. The reports he showed you were fabricated, I said. Or should I share his actual medical history? He looked up, startled. Real fear flickered in his eyes. I drew out a second document. Your varicocele surgery. 2 years ago. The urologist warned it could affect fertility. You were supposed to return for follow-up testing. You never did. Sabrina's hand stilled over her belly. The doctor said your sperm motility was severely reduced. Less than 15% normal movement. The chances of fathering a child naturally are, let us say, unlikely. That was before the surgery, he said quickly. You never returned for retesting, I said. I checked. He turned to Sabrina with desperate hope. The surgery fixed it. It had to. That baby is mine. Sabrina's face shifted from confusion to panic. Of course it is yours, she said, voice too high. Were you with anyone else? He asked louder. The room went quiet. Sabrina, were you with anyone else? No, she said too quickly. He tightened his jaw. Whose baby is it? She tried again. We can get a test. His voice rose. Whose baby is it? She flinched. Eric, she whispered. Eric from accounting. We were together before you and I. There was some overlap. I thought it was yours. I wanted it to be yours. But the dates, his face went gray. His hand dropped from hers to the tablecloth like something lifeless. He turned to me, hollow. You knew? I knew she was pregnant, I said. The rest was math. Your fertility issues plus her pregnancy equals someone else's child. Sabrina began to cry, makeup dissolving. I loved you, she said to him. I thought we could be a family. Like you thought you could convince me I was broken, I said to him. We all make choices. A manager appeared, concerned about the disturbance. Is everything all right? We will need separate checks, I said pleasantly. I will be leaving first. I rose, gathered my purse, and left the envelope's contents spread across the white linen. My results, his charges and receipts, their emails, the ultrasound, and beneath it all, the divorce papers. My lawyer will be in touch, I said. Sabrina, congratulations on the baby. I am sure Eric will be thrilled. The last thing I saw was my husband asking Sabrina, over and over, how could you lie to me? The same question I had asked myself for months now turned back on him. Outside, the Chicago night air felt clean. I called Denise. How did it go? She asked. Better than planned, I said, walking toward the lake. Sabrina's baby belongs to Eric. So he called you Barren while being functionally infertile himself, and his mistress was pregnant with another man's child, she said, laughing once sharp. Sometimes justice is precise. A text buzzed as I passed the restaurant windows. This is not over, he wrote. I deleted it and blocked his number. It was over. He just had not accepted it yet. The next morning I met with attorney Rochelle Bennett in the loop. She reviewed printed evidence and a note from the Marlowe's management documenting our scene. He brought a pregnant mistress to your anniversary restaurant, she said. Judges dislike cruelty. Add fabricated medical claims, and we have leverage. I do not want to punish him, I said. I want out. You will take a fair settlement, she replied. You supported him through business school. You left your marketing role to follow his career. You deserve compensation. She was right. I had forgotten the shape of my sacrifices. The divorce moved quickly. Humiliated and eager to leave the city, he capitulated. The apartment, the savings, alimony for 2 years. He signed like a man who had lost a war he started. Sabrina disappeared from his life almost immediately. Through acquaintances, I heard she tried to suggest paternity testing, but he was done with lies. The test settled it. 3 months later, I watered herbs on the balcony of my new apartment in Lincoln Park when an unknown Boston number called. "Maya," he said, voice hollow. I wanted to apologize. "For which part?" I asked. "All of it. Calling you Barren. Sabrina. The deception." "Are you sorry?" I said. "Or are you sorry that your life fell apart?" Silence stretched. "She had the baby," he said finally. "Eric is pursuing custody. She named me on the certificate at first, but the paternity test. She tried to trap you with another man's child," I said. "Like you tried to trap me with fake infertility." "I know," he said softly. "I see it now." "It is not irony," I said. "It is justice." I blocked the Boston number too. 2 weeks later, I met Caleb Thompson at a medical conference where I presented on healthcare marketing. He was a pediatrician at Northwestern Memorial, quiet, attentive, with hands that had held thousands of infants. Over coffee, I told him the truth. He laughed in disbelief. "Your ex-husband called you Barren? Your test results are extraordinary." It was not romance to discuss fertility on a first date, but it was honest. Caleb did not sleep in workout clothes. He did not lock doors or take calls in snowstorms. When he stayed over, he pulled me close instead of building a wall down the middle of the bed. His phone lived face up and boring on the nightstand, unlocked, empty of secrets. 6 months after the divorce, I planted tomatoes on my balcony. Cherokee purples and sun golds, varieties that reward care with abundance. As I pressed seeds into soil, I considered growth and how living things flourish in truth. The vines reached for the sun with nothing to hide. I shared the harvest with Denise, with neighbors, and with the maitre d' at the Marlowe, who had become a friend. "These are incredible," he said, biting into one. "What is your secret?" "Good soil," I said. "No lies mixed in." He sent one last email before I changed my address. He had taken a smaller job in Boston and moved into a studio. Sabrina returned to Indiana to raise Eric's son. "I destroyed everything," he wrote, "for a baby that was not mine." I did not respond. There was nothing to say that consequence had not already said. In August, sun warmed my face as I held a ripe tomato in my palm, heavy with juice and the particular satisfaction of growing something honest. Caleb wrapped his arms around me from behind, his chin resting on my shoulder. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. "How victory is not about destroying someone else," I said, turning the tomato in the light. "It is about rebuilding yourself from better materials." The tomato was warm, red as truth, sweet as freedom. I bit into it and tasted summer, beginnings, and the relief of a life rooted in fact. Below us, Lake Michigan stretched blue. Laughter drifted up from the beach, the sound of people living without locked doors and fabricated reports. I set the tomato on the railing and laced my fingers with Caleb's. The wind lifted our curtains, and the apartment breathed easy. I sorted a small stack of papers on the kitchen island. Final divorce decree, transfer of title, my new contract with a firm that valued my work, and the doctor's letters I no longer needed to prove anything. I placed them in a drawer and closed it. There were no secrets I had to keep track of anymore. Denise arrived with fresh basil and her unstoppable laugh. We cooked, we ate, we told stories that did not center around betrayal. When she left, the apartment did not feel empty. It felt quiet in the right way, like a room that remembers and forgives. The broken pieces of my grandmother's mug sat in a small frame on a shelf, a reminder that some fractures are not meant for glue. You do not erase the break, you honor the lesson. I ran a finger along the gold rim of a fragment and felt grateful for the clean cut that started my life over. In the early evening, Caleb and I walked to the water. The city glowed. Somewhere in a restaurant, a couple clinked glasses over plans they would keep. Somewhere a person told the truth, even when it cost them. Somewhere someone chose to stop performing and start living. When the breeze turned cool, we headed home. I turned the lock on my door, not out of fear, but out of habit. I set my purse down, not heavy with proof anymore, but with the ordinary things a person carries when they no longer need to defend who they are. I breathed in deep and even. For the first time in a long time, The air tasted like exactly itself. If you enjoyed this story, please like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss a powerful story drop.